And as I was sitting back to take a breather, I just saw the single tree and thought, oh my God, I'm out of the woods. And the trees and the woods have been symbols in my dreams for decades, and I've always been tangled up in the woods and the WOULDS and just all of it. And so I was sitting there in the chair laughing at the creators making fun of me finally being at the crossing. And as I was laughing, I started to see like the black and white, like a coloring book. And I started to see the shapes on the other side. And I was kind of seeing what I thought was leaves on the tree. And, you know, so I started thumbing in some of the greenish shapes. But when I stepped back and looked at it, it was a landscape, and I'd created the other side of the river. And so this whole world of we're creating this new world, and as creators, we get to color it in, we get to make up what the lines are. And so the painting represent that new space that I'm coming into personally, and we as inhabitants of the earth are coming into, because there is a new reality going on. Yes. One morning I had the coffee in the studio early, as is my habit, and the light was shining in from the side window, and it comes through the trees. And you know how the pattern of shadows cast from trees kind of moves as when the breeze, well, it was shining on the painting. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's really neat looking. Yeah, I can paint that in. It was almost like the creator was saying, well, how about this, Dorothy? And I said, oh, okay. And I mixed up a little paint, and I went, ooh, doo, 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 doo. And then, you know how fast it moves when the sun moves a little bit, and then suddenly the pattern isn't lined up anymore. And I kind of looked at it and I said, oh, well, yeah, I can go over here. And I changed colors and I moved it, and we went on for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then it moved to the other painting, and this went on for 2 or 3 days, and it finished the painting. It gave me what I needed to finish the painting. And then a couple days, I don't know whether it was one of those days or the day after, the light was cutting across these on the wall, and it was making this pattern across the bottom. And I looked at it and I thought, you gotta be kidding me. What am I gonna do with that? You know, so I'm talking out loud to the creator. And, you know, when I do that, I get answers. So I picked up the charcoal, the willow charcoal, you know, I thought, well, you know, what the heck, willow charcoal is soft and it'll dust back off with a rag if I decide to change my mind. What have I got to lose? So I just etched it in with the willow charcoal. And then the next day, I saw this yellow-orange underpainting on it with like a crystal blue sky. And so I mixed up this huge load of cadmium, deep cadmium, and slung it. And I took them off the wall and put them down on the floor because I didn't want it running all over the place and onto the wall. I wanted to be able to let it pool up and be thick puddles where the color would be, you know, jewel-like. to start. And so I just waited and waited and waited and waited. And when this other business started with the light and shadow on the other canvas, one of those mornings, it cast a light and shadow pattern at a really acute angle off the bottom of this. And so I had charcoal in my hand that day, and I went and just thumbed it in with willow charcoal, thinking, what's the risk? I don't know whether I'm going to use this or not. I'll just wipe it out if I change my mind, right? And so I did it on the floor. And then the next day when I came in to do it, after the glazes were dry, I thought I was going to put the blue on, the turquoise that I was seeing in my mind's eye, but it didn't go in that place. It went down here on the lower portion of it. And when the purple tree went in, I stepped back and sat in the chair with a cup of tea and said, oh my God, I'm crossing the river and I'm out of the woods. And I just sat there and laughed because it was like the creator was making this big joke at me. And that's when I started sitting there laughing at the joke. And that's when I started to see this really loose kind of, almost like a coloring book drawing with the charcoal and this landscape emerging on the other side of the river. And I had been kind of thinking there were some scumbled sort of tree branches or something like leafy sort of colors. And so I scumbled them in and then just started drawing back into them with the charcoal. And suddenly I had this landscape emerging and kind of tears in the white paper. And I found myself writing about the, the new world that we find ourselves in, and that it's our world to create, and that we can now work and create this new world whatever we want. It's that we can be engaged in creating the new world, or we can just like try to hold on and go back to where we came from, which is impossible.